The great Charles Barkley joins us, and he and I are the same age, and I've always been a fan, and we've talked about this before. 1984, he was the best player at the Olympic trials. He's going to say Michael Jordan, but I was there. He was. But I gotta ask you, and I text you, I don't know, a little bit ago saying, hey, man, I hope your show doesn't go away, something like that. And you hit me back with, hey, this is a stressful time, and you've been very public about your show continuing, but not necessarily for you, for all the people in the background. And that is incredibly cool to me as a guy who's worked in television. You're concerned for the people that work in the camera, the producers, all the people. That's pretty cool, man. That's awesome.
Well, number one, Dan, thank you. Listen, man, I'm not worried about me, Kenny, Ernie, and Shaq, but we probably 200 people gonna lose their job. They got families and things like that, bills and everything. So I feel bad for them. And it really sucks. I think our network has done an awful job as far as like keeping people abreast of what's happening. Because there's so many articles out there right now, which is crazy. I don't know what to believe. I don't know what's true, what's not true. But it really is a crazy situation. So, hey, listen, the worst thing about it, Dan, to be honest with you, we got another year no matter what happens. So I hope we don't have a lame duck year because that really would be unfair to all the people we work with. And those are the main people I'm concerned with.
This is something I don't understand. Like, if you're the biggest star on their network, if I'm the boss, I want to keep you abreast. I don't want to have you reading it, or Shaq or Kenny or Ernie reading it on Twitter. I don't want to have you guys having to pick up the Atlanta Journal-Constitution or whatever the hell. You know what I mean? I mean, why is that so difficult for leadership to understand?
Well, that's number one. You're 100% correct. We have had like 3 mergers in the last 10 years. So we really don't have, and they fired everybody who we were close to at Turner, to be honest with you. So we really don't have any type of relationship with the new people. That's the truth of the matter. I've only met the new boss twice for like a couple minutes. So I think that's probably the worst dynamic. They don't have a personal relationship with any of us. Because like I say, I don't know. I can't speak for Kenny and Shaq, but I've only met the new boss twice, and it was really just a quick, "Hey, we just at the same function." So I think that's the biggest problem. They don't feel any affiliation to us. That's the only thing I can think it could be.
I mean, look, I get it. You can watch reruns of Andy Griffin or whatever the hell else is on that network. I mean, damn. I mean, you guys in my mind, you're must see TV. If somebody said to you, all right, Charles, a year from now, give me your best guess. Where will you be going? Will you be there? Will you be at ESPN? What's your best guess on it?
Well, see that Dan, that's the really weird dynamic because I think they're waiting for the playoffs over to announce it. And obviously, a perfect world would be we're going to continue doing it. But this is the craziest thing. Like, I'm going to be on this time. Well, not this time next year. We'll be done. I'll be on TNT for another year. We'll be on TNT for another year no matter what happens. I think the thing going forward is like what happened to the team. But like I say, I got no idea right now. But I'm going to be on TNT at least one more year before anything happens.
I'm imagining there'll be some type of announcement. I don't know. Let me go to something else. You've talked about, maybe wanting to be a general manager at some point. All right. Danny Hurley. If you were going to advise Danny Hurley, I got 2 questions for you. What would you tell him? And the second thing is, Tom Izzo told me when he was looking at the Cavs job, way back, that he couldn't get a conversation with LeBron. And if he's like, look, if I can't talk to LeBron, I'm not going to the Cavs. How important would LeBron's approval be in this at this point in his career for Danny Hurley?
Well, I think it would be really important. Okay, but Dan, let me tell you something. Number one, I love Danny Hurley. I love what he's doing at UConn. But I was so mad at ESPN yesterday I'm not gonna lie. I love Danny Hurley. This has nothing to do with Hurley. And good luck with him if he go to the Lakers. But I was so pissed with Game One of the Finals and Game One of the Stanley Cup Finals coming on. For them to spend the first hour talking about what if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers, I was so pissed yesterday. I had to turn my TV off. I'm not gonna lie. I'm like, this is how stupid they are. I like what y'all got the Stanley Cup Finals and the NBA Finals, and y'all talk about a team that's irrelevant. And I'm like, that whoever's doing that programming got to be the stupidest, most bonehead people in the world. I'm like, yo, if he goes, we'll talk about it. But to just go on there and blow air for an hour and then say, oh, by the way, we got Game One of the Finals coming up tonight. I was like, who in the hell is running their programming over there? I was like, if okay, there's nothing but speculation. Okay, but you got Game One of the Finals, and you got Game One of the Stanley Cup playoff, which I'm really pumped about because, man, you got Florida who lost in the finals last year, and you got a whole country of people, and you got those games as a network. And you spent the whole time talking about what if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers? I'm like, what kind of idiots are running this network? I said, that was crazy. Like I say, I love Danny Hurley. I love his family. I love his story. I love because he's a basketball purist. But I just thought it was so stupid at ESPN yesterday. It's like, wait a minute, y'all got the biggest game of the NBA season coming on tonight. And y'all spent the first hour talking about if Danny Hurley goes to the Lakers. I was like, come on, man. So to answer your question, man, I love Danny Hurley. He gonna have to have LeBron's approval. I understand why we just lost the greatest college football coach ever in Nick Saban. I know Jay Wright was kind of feeling that type of way. These NCAA idiots and fools, well, I should just call them jackasses like they are. I'm trying to figure out how we have screwed up college sports. Like, I said one day, I would call it the Wild Wild West, but that would be disrespectful to the Wild Wild West. Like, I have no idea, how did we ruin college sports? And I understand why Dan is like, you know what? I might as well go to the NBA and make a lot of money. Don't have the headaches of NIL every year, the transfer portal, because I have no idea where college sports are going, but it's going in a bad direction. And I don't know what to do about it because I think it's really important because I tell people, we have screwed up college sports for 1%, Dan. 1% of players who probably make all the money, blah, blah, blah. But we're going to end up screwing the other 99% who actually need college to get a free education. And I feel so sad for those 99% that we're going to screw it up for 1% because there's going to be a lot of schools that are going to have to go under because they can't afford or can't pay players. I think the women's sports are really going to suffer the most. So I understand what Danny's mindset is because, like I said, we just got rid of Nick Saban because of the NIL thing. So I feel the same way about Jay Wright. I haven't talked to Coach Kate lately, but he's fulfilling some type of way. And it's going to be very interesting what happens in college sports the next couple of years.
Hey, speaking of that, maybe I'm wrong about this, but they talk about revenue sharing for players, and I'm all for players being paid. But here's my take, and you can crush me on it if you'd like, or you can agree. Guys that should be paid are like guys that built it. Like TV contracts were signed way back before any of these current players had anything to do with it. So I'm like, hey, man, pay Isaiah, pay Scott May back on undefeated basketball teams. Pay Charles Barkley, who made the SEC grow. Pay Wimp Sanderson. Pay, guys at Georgetown and Mullen and those guys that grew the Big East. Those are the guys that grew it. These contracts were signed 10 years ago when these kids were in grade school. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong about that. Does that make sense?
It's a very fair point. It's a very fair point. My thing, and I don't think your answer is wrong. I think that's very fair. But my thing is, if I'm going to give a guy a couple million, which is crazy to even think about. We're paying a guy a couple $1 million to go to college for 6 months. I'm like, what's the benefit to the school? You know, college football is a little bit different because if you give guys money, at least you get 3 years. You get 3 years of them. But if I'm going to pay a basketball player $2 million and he's only going to be on campus for 6 months, and it's kind of hard to throw a bunch of guys together and we lose in the first round or the second round. I don't understand how that benefits our program. That's my biggest pet peeve. And my biggest pet peeve is, and I've told them, y'all can't call me every year and ask me for millions of dollars. That's not going to happen. Y'all need to stop. I says, I love Auburn. But the chances of me going back to being black and broke again because I want Auburn to be good in football and basketball, that's not going to happen. I love my school, but I don't love them that much. Dan.
I've been rich, I've been poor, but the Clippers have always sucked. That's the greatest line. I've always said, at what point do you protect the school and at what point do you protect the game? I get it, man. 18 to 23-year-olds are important, but you got to protect the school and you got to protect the game at some point, don't you?
Dude, I couldn't have said that better myself. That's a really great thing you just said. You got to protect the school, but the most important thing, kind of piggyback on my point, the sport. We spend all our time worrying about one of the guys who are going to go to college for 6, 7 months. Like, well, they need, okay, we got to pay them to come to college. I understand that. But we're going to ruin the other parts, because you can just tell it's just a matter of time before schools are like, you know what, we can't afford to pay these guys like the SEC or the Big Ten, you know. So now you're going like, okay, we got to start cutting sports. So there's going to be trickle-down effect. And I just, like I say, my number one concern, because I'm always looking at education. 99% of these kids, because one of the great travesties in our country is what we're charging these kids to go to college. We got the greatest country in the world, and the money we're charging these kids to go to college is a flat-out joke and a disgrace to the greatest country in the world. But 99.9% of these kids, they need that free education. And as sooner or later, it's already having a negative effect. Because some schools have already cut programs. And then obviously I think the women programs are probably gonna suffer the most. But let's be honest, it ain't but 2 programs bringing in money, basketball and football. I mean, so why do, and I hate to single anybody out, but I'm like, okay, the basketball program, the football players, they're bringing in all the money. Why we are giving money to the bowling team, to the gymnastic team, to the equestrian team? So everybody, there's a lot of money to go around, but not if you have to take care of everybody, and that's the sad thing about this. Nobody's protecting the school or the game.
No, they're not. And I get it. We got 18 to 23-year-olds. And you know what else? And when I was coaching, this is just like I drove myself crazy with academics and fundraising. And now coaches can't even be involved. It's just a weird thing. But you got to protect the school. Hey, I want to get into the finals a little bit. What'd you think last night? Porzingis, can he be that important all series?
Yeah, for a couple reasons. Number one, he spreads the floor for Jalen and Jason, but also he's one of the only guys on their team that post up. You know, one of my criticism of him early in his career was because in this new age NBA, and I have the same criticism of Karl Anthony Towns, like, yo, man, it doesn't do you any good to be big if you ain't going to be big. If you're just gonna stand out there and jack up threes, and you know, Rick Carlisle, he's a great friend of mine. He went off on me and Shaq one night because when Porzingis was playing in Dallas, I said, "Yo, you 7 feet, 7'2", jacking up threes. You got a 6'5" guy guarding you." And Rick says, like, Charles has to understand this isn't the '70s, '80s basketball. I says, I know. Yeah, I clearly understand that. But I know if I'm 7'2" and I got a 6'5" guarding me, I'm not going to shoot threes. So what Porzingis did for the Celtics, he spreads the floor, but when they have a mismatch, they go to it every time. They do not let little guys guard him. So I've said all along, there's nothing. If Porzingis was healthy, I said it in November, I said in December, I said if Porzingis is healthy, the Celtics are going to win a championship. And he looked great last night, but we can't overreact to one game because that calf thing, it could go bad next game or it could be bad today. But if Porzingis is healthy, nobody's going to beat the Celtics. And I thought you saw a good example last night. They had 4 guys that can guard Luka and Kyrie. I really thought it had a huge effect on the Mavs. They guarded Kyrie well. So Derek White and Drew Holiday can guard anybody one-on-one. But I thought the thing that was impressive how they guarded Luka, because they didn't double him, and he got going a little bit later in the game. But the one thing they did, and I've been saying this for months, man, you can have 35 points, but you can't have 12 assists. You can, my football friends tell me this. My football friends tell me this all the time. You can have a run or you can have a pass. You can't have both. Because sometimes when I'm watching them, I'm like, what kind of defense are y'all playing? You can let Luka get 35, but he can't have 12 assists. Like, it's either A or B. And sometimes when I'm watching these NBA teams, I'm like, what are they doing? Come on, man. You gotta give them something and take away something. And I thought the Celtics did a fabulous job. They never overreacted. And Luka only had 1 assist. That's got to be a career low. That's got to be. But if he gets 5 or 6 assists, I'm good with that. If he has 30, 35, even 40 points. But he can't have 40 and 12. He can't have that. But I thought Jaylen Brown was great defensively last night, also on him. But like I say, they got 4 guys who can guard him. And they went at him on the offensive end. I never understand why they don't go at him on the offensive end, because he's going to try to close the game, but not if he's exhausted. I thought Boston did a fabulous job of attacking him, making him work on defense, and they had a nice game plan. But like I say, I've said all along, if Porzingis is healthy, the Celtics are going to win the championship.
Charles, I went to 2 of the games in Indiana, and I swear to God, I always said you guys that played in the NBA have PhDs in basketball. You're brilliant. And I'm watching Horford and Drew Holiday and Derek White, and I know Tatum and Brown are great, but these dudes are like Horford is the smartest basketball player I think I've ever seen. And maybe he should be, but these dudes are brilliant, man. It's amazing how smart, I guess, is what I'm saying the Celtics are, at least to me.
Yeah, but that's because you actually know your job. Because a lot of because you know what you're looking for. See, Dan, one of the biggest problems in sports is when it comes to coaching and evaluating talent, people get so enamored with talent. And a lot of times, guys who are really talented don't learn how to play basketball. And those guys you mentioned, they're not overly talented, but they know how to play back. Because when you're not overly talented, you have to learn to play basketball. And Horford and Derek White and Drew Holiday, they're 3 of the smartest basketball players we got. But a lot of times when guys are really talented, they don't take the time to learn how to play basketball, which if they actually took the time, that's when you become a superstar. Like just being really good at basketball makes you an all-star. But if a lot of talented players would take the time to learn how to play basketball, they could take their game to another level. But because they're so supremely talented, there's only I always tell them, like, you can get away with that most of the time if you're better than everybody else. But I don't think you're going to get over the hump if you don't learn how to play basketball. Because you can, like I said, you can be an all-star, but you can never be a superstar unless you learn how to play the game.
You think Edwards is on track for that? You think he'll do
I
that?
do. Yeah, I do. I think Anthony
Yeah.
Edwards is definitely on track because number one, he doesn't. He's got the one thing that you need to be a great player. He got the want to. Like a lot of guys want the NBA life. They want the NBA money. They don't want to kick your ass. He wants to kick your ass. And
Yeah.
I've said this. I haven't seen a guy want to look at another guy and says, "I'm going to kick your ass. There's nothing you can do about it." Michael and Kobe are probably the last two guys. I'm not comparing them to him yet, but as far as like want to be great, has no respect for the guy. Like I want, and he made a mistake. Now he made a mistake, and I called him out on television. Like, yo, you, because Kyrie was sitting home minding his own business, sitting there with his beautiful family, eating dinner, chilling, and a young kid calls him out. I want Kyrie. And I said, oh, Lord, this young kid, you know, you got to be careful. You have to know who you're calling out, Dan. You have to know who you're calling out. And that was a mistake. And then game one, Kyrie had his best half as a Mav. That 20 he had against the Mavs, against Anthony in game one, was his most points in a half since becoming a Mav. And we had him on the show after the game. And he said, I said, Kyrie, I know you're at home minding your own business. And when he says, you're right, Chuck. And when he said that, I said, oh, he wants me?
Yeah.
I said, well, I better oblige. So even though I love his young enthusiasm and confidence, you have to be really careful because the other guys, we got some other great players in this league now that you don't call them out.
There's two things I always talk about. Be careful what you wish for, and no good deed goes unpunished. Be careful what the hell you wish for, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, listen, because like I say, you can call out players less talented than you, but when somebody
Right.
has the same skill level and mindset as you need to be really careful who you call out. And he made a mistake calling out Kyrie. And if you go back and look, I don't think they ever recovered from that. It was kind of like I said, like a standing 8 count. When Kyrie came out and punched him in the head, they were staggering around for the first 3 games before they got their footing. But they never, in my opinion, they never recovered from the standing 8 count.
Would you ever think you'd be on inside the NBA talking about the WNBA protecting somebody from violence, like it being women being petty and all that? You ever think, you know what I mean?
Hey, Dan, no, I thought like, man, these girls getting ready to hit the lottery. I mean, this is a great time to be a woman in the WNBA. With these young girls coming in, especially Caitlin. I mean, what she's done for the game the last couple of years. I mean, she is a shining star. I mean, and the thing I like about her, man, she doesn't say a word.
Right.
I mean, yeah, she's never said a word about anybody. She just shows up and does her job. And you knew it was going to be a growth period for her because all rookies, it's a shock to your system. Kobe Bryant struggled. Charles Barkley struggled. Everybody struggled. I tell people it was going to be a struggle because she's going to adjust. She's going to get stronger. She's going to adjust to the speed of the game and the physicality. But I didn't think she was going to have to worry about all this petty nonsense that's going on. And I've heard a lot of people get varied opinion. And I was like, well, listen, this is not the old days where any publicity is good publicity. It's really bad publicity for the WNBA because you know why? We're not talking about basketball. Anytime you have a sport, especially a niche sport, and you're talking about negativity instead of how great Aja Wilson is, how great New York, the Liberty are, Connecticut Sun playing well. You got the great Donna Taurasi out there. Got Angel Reese doing something in Chicago. So when you're talking about all this pettiness and negativity, you're not talking about the game. And so I felt bad. I was mad because I'm like, guys, we're not even talking about basketball. And like I say, yeah, she gonna have undergo some rookie hazing, but clearly there's some overboard going on. If you go back and look at that play, you can tell the way the Chicago Sky's bench jumped for joy when she knocked that girl down. They were like, way to go knocking her down. You can just tell. It's like, whoa, that's a little much. Yeah, and I had no problem. We've always gave rookies a little bit of the business, but you can just tell that they've been going overboard. Like I say, if you look at the Chicago's bench when they knock her down, they all jump up and say yes. So you can tell they're doing a little too much, and it's really unfortunate because she's bringing so much notoriety to the game. I mean, I watched more college basketball in the last 2 years, women-wise, than I have my entire life. I mean, it's been must-see TV. I mean, the ratings for the last two Final Fours, they're the highest rated games in ESPN history for basketball games. Not just men and women, just women, for men and women. And the thing that also I'm like, they act like she didn't earn it. I'm like, the woman just set the record for the most points ever scored by a man or a woman. They're like, well, she's only getting this shine because she's white. I'm like, well, is race a factor? Yes, race is a factor, but her resume speaks for itself. She just set the record for the most points ever scored by a man or a woman. Like, they didn't prop her up just because she was white. Her accolades speak for themselves. And because she's getting endorsements and people are coming to see her, we got this petty jealousness going on, and it's really unfortunate because this would be like I say, with the new TV deals coming up, with attendance high, they're looking for more women to put in commercials. This is a great time to be in the WNBA.
What do you think of McAfee's comments about it and all the fallout from that?
Yeah, he crossed the line. I'm glad he apologized. I'm glad he apologized quickly. I think sometimes, we've all crossed the line. I've crossed the line because, when you're on live TV, you say stuff sometimes. But I'm a big McAfee fan. Hey, I'm a big McAfee fan. And all you can do is apologize and go forward. I thought he handled it as well as he could. But like I say, man, I've screwed up many times on live television. You just apologize. And that's all you can do. He got caught up in the moment because it's a really unfortunate thing to have to talk about. We should be talking about, hey, this is a great time to be in a WNBA. Viewership is up. Everybody going to start making more money. They put more ladies in commercials. This is a great time, but we're not even talking about that. And people are getting mad and frustrated. And I understand it because, I want to talk about the great things about the WNBA. I don't want to come on here and talk about pettiness and jealousy and race. Come on, man. Because what happens is every fool on television who has a keyboard has an opinion now. And most people don't. Judge Joe Brown, somebody I really admire, he always talked about clean hands. The one thing I'm very good at, Dan, anytime I'm on television on a show like yours, I'm not going to have an agenda. And we have too many people on television and radio now who have an agenda. They're trying to get clicks. And anytime you have an agenda, you're trying to get clicks, you're going to say something just for that reason. It's not your honest, fair opinion.
That's why your show is great, and ESPN has never figured it out. And I say you're the best teammate on television. You are the best teammate on television. I say it all the time. You're the best. In fact, When I was at
Thank you.
ESPN, I tried to emulate you when I was on sets. I would listen. I would sit there and not jump in. But is there a tote board in the back of inside the NBA that, like, chronicles how many commercials you're in against how many commercials Shaq's in? Like, hey, I got another one, Shaq. I'm on number 20. Shaq, you're only 18. Yeah. You dudes are on more commercials than any human beings in the history of the world.
Well, first of all, don't compare me to Shaq. Shaq got twice as many commercials as me, Dan. Stop it.
Does he?
You know, yeah. I think what happens
I'm
is
counting voiceovers, though. I'm counting your voice in these commercials too. I'm not just saying them. I'm saying your voice.
I got Subway, and I got Capital One. I think what happens is people think I'm on more commercials than I am because, and let me tell you something, it's annoying for me too. Just for the record, like when I'm doing March Madness, and we got 4 games on at a time, and every commercial is me, Spike, and Sam. That's very annoying for me because I have to sit there and everybody in the room is looking at me. Damn, this dude on another commercial, and I said, I'm not on as much as you think I am. I'm just on at the same time, and I can be annoying because you probably got to watch all the games, so every commercial is me. But that should only count as one commercial, Dan. Shaq got 20.
I get it.
Yeah.
I get it. I don't get annoyed. The only commercial I get annoyed about is Gilgeous Alexander and that Holmgren guy trying to sing or whatever the hell that thing is. That's the only one I'm like, get that shit get that shit out of here. Come on. That's the only one.
Well, I actually think it's great because, I think it's great because I saw Anthony Edwards in a commercial. I just like, because the NBA's got to do a much better job of showcasing. They worry so much about big names. Like we show the Lakers and they suck. We show the Warriors and they suck. We show them. We got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. We need to show him more. Chet Holmgren, we need to show him more. We need to show the Dallas Mavericks more with Luka and Kyrie. We need to show the Sacramento Kings more. We need to show the Timberwolves more. I don't know how many times we had the Timberwolves on this year. But maybe 1 or 2, but we need to showcase them more. So we spent a lot of times showing the big teams, but man, this is a great, I think I saw the thing says, this is the first time in 17 years that Steph, LeBron, KD were not past the first round of the playoffs. I mean, it's been it was 17 or 18 years, which is great for the league. I mean, now we're getting to see the greatness of Luka, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum. I love that. Shai Gilgeous, loved it. Ant-Man, loved it. In the East, it was great. When the Knicks do good, it's great for the NBA. But I got to tell you something. And I've said this on television. I'm not just telling you, man, this Celtic thing, this could be the beginning of a great run. I mean, because they're probably going to be – I forgot Joker. I don't want to leave the Joker out. He just won the MVP. But this Celtic team, the way it's constructed right now, they could go on a nice little run here. If they can close this thing out with Jalen and Jason only being like 25, Porzingis, he's been around a long time, but I think he might be 30. Derek White, I think he's young. Drew Holiday, I think he's relatively young. Man, this thing could be the Celtics for the next X amount of years. They might not win it, but they're going to be favored probably for the next 5 years. I really believe that. They could go on a nice little run here and dominate the NBA for the next few years.
Hey, Charles, I've kept you too long, man. I could go on for hours. What the hell? I mean, what are you doing in Philly?
I live in Philly during the summer. It's too hot to be in Arizona.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, so I'm in Philly all summer doing nothing but playing golf, brother. Play golf every day. I'm doing absolutely nothing, man.
You told me last time your handicap was in single digits. I said, okay, let's play. And then all of a sudden it became 12. You said it's in single digits. I said, well, I'm a 7. You got to give me strokes. No, I'm a 12. What?
Well,
How long does it take you and some guys on the first tee to figure out the bets, and how long does it take everybody to get honest with their handicaps and the strokes?
well, first of all, we're all jocks, so we're all has-beens. So everybody got an ego. So everybody think they're better than they are. That's the first thing. So guys don't want to take strokes because you got to admit somebody's better than you. So it's a lot of arguing on the first tee. Like unless a guy is a lot better than you, you're not taking shots. That's just the way it is when you're an old jock. Your ego you think you can still play. Now, if I play against a 5 handicap and I'm a 10 to 12, I want a couple shots, but I only want the minimum because once you play sports, you got an ego. So you're not taking a bunch of shots. When I played with Tiger, I would only take a shot a hole. I had no chance of winning, but because he should have been giving me probably on some holes should be giving me 2 shots, but I'm not going to take more than shot a hole. My ego would not. I don't care. Jack Nicklaus, Scotty Scheffler, John Rahm, Jordan Spieth, Justin Thomas. I would never take more than a shot a hole. Just because of my ego. I'm not taking 2 shots. My ego would not let me do that.
Yeah, but your bank account would. I mean,
Yeah,
how much would you play Tiger Woods for? How much would you play Tiger Woods or Jordan for? What's the normal bet?
$200, $200 a hole. You're gonna lose a couple $1,000 more than likely. I've never played either one of more than two. But I think $200 a hole was my max.
What was Jordan's max?
Oh God, he don't have a max. he don't have a max. He does not have a max at all against anybody.
I beat him out of $6,000 in the Olympics in '84 when he was just learning to play, and he's never paid me. Does that surprise you? He tried to give me plain pocket jeans and Polaroid cameras that you all got in these bags that were sponsors.
Well,
he
didn't have any money then, Dan.
Shit.
Listen, you know North Carolina wasn't paying, man. You know better. North Carolina and Indiana, neither one of them was paying back in the day. I can't speak for us in the SEC, but I guarantee you North Carolina and Indiana were not paying.
Did you take a pay cut to go to Philly?
Man, I wasn't making anything. Listen, those boosters were walking right past me and Chuck Person to get to Bo Jackson and those guys. That's the one thing about playing at a football school. You're not getting anything. If there's any change left over, you might get a little piece of change. But hey, them boosters walking right past me to get to Bo Jackson and those guys. That's straight facts. And that's actually, to be honest with you, one of the reasons that I left college after my junior year. I'm like, I hear everybody else is getting paid, but I'm not getting paid, so I'm not staying around. I'm gonna go watch and at least get paid. That's actually the truth. I'm like, if y'all not gonna pay me anything, if y'all just gonna give me a couple $100 here or there, I might as well go to the NBA and make some real money. Plain and simple. That's the truth.
What do you think Turpin and Kenny Walker and Sam Bowie were making during those days?
A lot. Hey, a lot. I know all those guys well. Great guys, too. Great guys. They were making a lot.
That used to make my man, Coach Knight, crazy. Like, people say Purdue's your rival. Man, it used to make him. I mean, if you lost to Kentucky and you were in Indiana as a player, oh, shit, man. The next month was, I don't care who you beat. He was killing you because he was always pissed that they were paying. You know what I mean? That kind of a thing.
Well, we used to get mad when we hear the stories about Kentucky and Alabama. We used to get so mad. But even though Alabama's a football school, they took care of their basketball players. In Kentucky, they don't care about their football. They just took care of their basketball players. We didn't get anything at Auburn, and it was actually kind of frustrating and pissed us off, to be honest with you. We're like, we can't get nothing. I mean, like we can't get nothing. Every football player driving around here in a nice ass car. I got a beat up Cutlass Supreme with T tops, and every time it rains inside my car. And like, and my mom and grandmother scraped together to get me that 77, and it was 1981 when I went to college. That thing was beat to death, but it got me. I love that car. I was like, and all these football players are driving around these nice ass cars. I'm like, damn, this is crazy. We can't get nothing.
Oh, Charles, I love talking to you, man. Thanks for coming on. I don't want to keep you any longer, but thanks, man. And I hope this all works out. You can't lose that show. It's the best show going in sports. It is.
Well,
Can't lose that.
it's hey, I hope we keep going. Like I say, mainly for the people behind the scenes, because you've been on television. The people behind the scenes work harder. We just show up and, and spew.
That's right.
So I hope it works out for those guys. But hey, like I say, man, I don't know anything. I wish I did. I told them just let us know one way or the other. That'd be the right thing to do.
Last thing, would you have any problem going to ESPN?
I wouldn't have any problem taking a job anywhere, Dan. I need a job. I got grandkids now. I got 2 grandkids. Shout out to little Henry and my little girl, Princess Charlie. Hey, by the time they go to college, it's going to be like $1 million. I got to keep making money. It's a joke. It's a joke what it is now. Can you imagine Charlie's 2? No, Charlie's 1 and Henry's 2. Can you imagine what it's going to be for college by the time? Because my daughter went to Villanova and Columbia. Yeah, my daughter went to Villanova and Columbia. So I know how much it is now for those 2 schools. Can you imagine that? You're probably going to want to send them to one of those 2 schools. So by the time they grow up, I'm going to have to get a second job, not just a new job, a second job.
I don't give advice to anybody other than my children, but you better start taking more strokes. I mean, honest to God, the way you guys play, if you take more strokes, you can pay for college on more strokes. Put your damn ego aside.
Hey, I'm not taking more strokes. No, I got pride. I got pride, brother.
It is Pride Month, so perfect month for that, I guess. You know what I mean?
Yes. I appreciate you, brother.
Thanks, Charles.
All right, have a great
my
weekend.
Friend. Thanks for coming on.